Asmongold's editor on his Clips channel, and it's on the Clips channel because you couldn't find more to say, but for people who haven't seen it here.
The Ethan thing? I remember somebody told me about this.
I think it's embarrassing for Hila here to be like, this is so traumatic for the kids. You're trying to traumatize the children. It's like...
So basically, these people collectively got together and called CPS on Ethan and Hila's kids.
For context...
Just me when I lie? Okay.
This is the same person we had to deal with before.
$30K to anyone who'll make this... Isn't it cute that his editor has to lie all the time? Dude, that bag must be so big, dude. Fuck. That bag must be so big. If shit disappear.
And now she's been on a generational run of hating against Ethan Klein during almost every...
Hating on Ethan Klein.
Single stream of hers, to the point they literally had Child Protective Services called on H3's family. And as you...
I like... This is... Oh, man. It's... Like, we need to study disinfo campaigns, by the way, from people like Asmongold or his editor, right? I know that all of this really stems from the original disinfo campaigns surrounding Gamergate, so much so that I think like even people like Roger Stone ended up picking up on those disinfo campaigns, which is what helped Trump win both the first time and the second time. I just struggle to take someone seriously who's too much of a pussy to speak, that has to use a TTS. Oh, Steve Bannon, excuse me. Like, you know that this guy sounds like a total fucking loser, and that's why he doesn't use his real voice. And then I remember that and I'm like, yeah, life's okay.
You might notice she immediately deleted the VOD after this happened, and now she's trying to dismiss the event as nothing crazy.
Dog, you literally, the vast majority of people are, like, are not remembering anything that happened to them at 3.
Man. So it's okay to do anything to a 3-year-old because they...
Where did I say that, Asmongold? You made that up. You actually just made that up. You actually just made that up.
They won't remember it.
It's just sympathy, right? It's just, she's just pulling like the IDF classic card.
The IDF? The Israeli Defense Force? What does this have to do with the IDF?
She served in the IDF. That's what it has to do with it. She picked up most likely plenty of IDF strategies because she was literally trained to, because she was literally in the IDF. The IDF strategy, I mean, Israel's strategy with regard to committing their genocide is just to accuse everyone of doing what they do. It's a very effective strategy because lying is OP, right? That's why currently the strategy for Hila and Ethan Klein is just to lie about all their enemies, clip them out of context as much as they can, and push as much disinfo as they can.
Yeah.
Like, please. And then sympathy farm, right? If it's so difficult, please, everyone that is against us needs fucking awful experiences because we're the ones dealing with the real awful experiences.
What? I don't even know what to say. The fuck are we watching? She was in the IDF? Yeah, she was in the IDF because every single person that was born and lives in Israel has to serve in the IDF.
Nope, wrong. A large percentage of the population is able to get out of conscription. Also, there are literally clips of her saying, yeah, if they didn't give me a more interesting station, I was going to figure out how to get out of my conscription, my mandatory service. When you're taking pleasure in your work and you specifically want to see the more exciting actions, so you go on a terrorist raid to Ramallah City, and when you aren't willing to do, when you explicitly want that action, otherwise you will find a way to get out of service, that's literally you choosing to be there. What? Like, I don't...
Including women.
Hila did worse to Palestinian kids in the IDF. I mean, I'm sure she's thought about doing terrible things to people when she was in the IDF. There's literally a clip of AB saying Israelis are trained to like hate Palestinian children and think that they're terrorists from a young age. And then she says, well, like that's not even that absurd of a concept. She literally says, I mean, if someone has the clip, please link it.
I want you to understand that the reason why she's saying this is so she can dehumanize this woman that she's watching, like Ethan's wife, and then make her an acceptable target for bad treatment.
Oh, you mean what you do to everyone that you don't like? You must understand this strategy well since you're so versed in it.
But I was like, I really
it's
don't
like self-reports consistently, dude. Fuck.
want you to create any bad memory here for them. Like, they are 5 and 3.
Create any bad memory for them.
Is this
you're
the
not
part?
forming memories at 3 years old, and it's very rare that you're forming memories at 5 years old. Nah, yes, you are. No, you're not. It's like, which I already talked about this in the video, but I'm talking about childhood amnesia. You're welcome to do your own research on childhood amnesia. And I clarify later in the stream the ability to recall non-memorable experiences. 4 is the cutoff, but even if you are forming any memories at 4, you're not going to be able to remember them past like 15. You have accidentally left the context here where I say it's not necessarily about forming the memories, it's about being able to recall them. Be 1 or 2 memories. Yes.
Okay, so then...
Talking to a random stranger once isn't really memorable for a kid.
Oh my God.
The average age of adults' earliest memories is 3.5 years old. You're not really forming memories at 3. Which, I pulled up the wrong piece of information here, but even this, people are suddenly pretending like this doesn't say 3.5, and they're pretending like it says 3. Like they're just like actively closing their eyes and closing their ears and being like, look, it says 3, and they're pretending like it doesn't literally say 3.5. But this is about your first formed memory. I was trying to find something. It says it earlier in the sentence about, again, childhood amnesia.
You just read it.
Again, this is also about averages. Yeah.
Average also.
Pretty rare to be forming memories or like memories that you will keep. And also, I didn't say anything about trauma. Totally different conversation. Keep.
You see the goalpost?
Why does it matter also? Is CPS a strike force aiming to traumatize kids, or are they experienced in the field? I mean, that's its own other conversation, which I talk about as well in the video, that there is a very big difference between, like, for example, getting swatted and the interview that ended up happening, which Ethan Klein actually talked about in great detail on his show, where he explains what happened. And the person showed up and just said, hey, you know, well, how was your day? What do you do? I'm just here to make sure you're safe. Like that was the CPS evaluation.
Post moving 50 memories and memories that you will keep.
Like I can remember maybe, I don't know, 5 things that happened to me, maybe.
Oh God, this is really...
And you can't even take care of your
Nothing to say, nothing to say.
fucking kids. Why don't you tell your wife too? She should be taking care of your kids too, both of y'all. Instead,
Do you notice how he immediately swaps to someone else because there's nothing else that he has to say about this? Because he can't remember anything because of all the mold in his fucking house. He wants so desperately to be like, yeah, well, I have a perfect memory, but like the mold has rotted him so bad, he can barely remember what he ate the day before. And this is really, you can remember more than 5? What? More than 1? Do you remember any? What the?
50 memories and memories that you will keep.
Like I can remember maybe, be forming memories or like memories that you will keep.
You see the goalpost moving 50 memories.
It's not a goalpost moving. I'm talking about childhood amnesia. I was talking about it from the very beginning. If you didn't understand that, you're just being disingenuous.
And memories that you will keep.
Like I can remember his only complaint about you is the stuff that he blatantly lied about. I mean, yeah, for a lot of these people, they just like lie and then they're like, can you believe that she would say this thing I made up? Like the very beginning where he's like, I can't believe she's saying that you can do whatever you want if someone doesn't remember. It's like, when did I say that? I literally didn't say that. You made that up. The source is that you made it the fuck up. Maybe, I don't know, 5 things that happened to me, maybe.
Oh God,
What's really funny is before the brigading, there were literally people in all of these communities saying, you implied it? No, I didn't. Because if you keep watching the clip before it's deceptively clipped, I literally say it doesn't matter whether or not people can remember it because you shouldn't call CPS on people, except for like family vloggers that are abusing their children for fucking content, that are like putting their kids in front of the camera and being like, okay, Billy, it's time to stream your entire life. So no, I didn't imply it. I said the exact opposite, actually.
Really?
You can watch my video on it. I show the rest of the clip if you're interested.
and you can't even take care of your fucking kids. Why don't you tell your wife too? She should be taking care of your kids too, both of y'all. Instead, you're posted up complaining about how you got CPS called and they're investigating you, homie.
Look, I like Asmongold and I watch his content, but I disagree how he defends Ethan and his wife. My father was conscripted, but I can tell you he wouldn't be in an army when they kill innocent people. It takes strong morals to stand up against that, and Ethan's wife isn't one of them. Well, again, it's the opposite of that. It's not even that it's like it takes strong morals or any of these other things. And I've said before many times that I think it's very hard to be able to get past that brainwashing and force yourself to be personally inconvenienced to do the right thing. I've said that many times, and I don't expect most people when they're 19 to be able to see that. But there is a difference between that and talking about how you would, quote, find a way to get out of the IDF or the conscription or the mandatory service if the action didn't get more serious and exciting for you, which is what she said. Those were her words, which is a crazy thing to say. There's also, again, I don't know if anyone has linked it yet, but there's also a clip of AB saying that like Israelis are taught to hate Palestinians or are taught to think that Palestinians are like IDF members at a very young age. And she literally goes, I mean, she literally admits to the brainwashing that Israel does to dehumanize the Palestinian people. Like, that's just, those are her words. You don't have to take it from me. Those are her words.
And you're posting on Instagram? Oh, I hope his kids get taken away from him. Oh, I hope so. They would be so
What's really cute is that they've tried really hard to like tie me with this other person that I don't know.
much better off. Fuck. And you can't even.
And it's what they're currently doing with Bad Up and they're like, yeah, okay, well, maybe you didn't do any of the things that we accused you of doing and that we pretended like you did. But you know, you watch Bad Empanada, so you're basically the worst person in the world. It's like, what are you talking about?
Does this?
Oh, I hope his kids get taken away from him.
So they've already made up their mind. They're not.
Oh yeah, here the I mean clip.
Kill Americans. That's Israeli. Rudy was saying that Palestinians are taught at 2 years old to kill Americans.
That's pretty spicy.
Yeah.
Do we have that one?
mean,
Like, come
I don't
on.
have the other one.
I could add it.
He says that-
Israeli. Rudy was saying that Palestinians are taught at 2 years old to kill Americans.
That's pretty spicy.
Yeah.
Do we have that
I
one?
mean,
Like, come
I don't have
on.
the other.
Rudy Giuliani said Palestinians are taught to kill Americans at 2 years old. And what does she say? I mean, can you imagine unironically defending the statement, Palestinians are taught to kill Americans at 2 years old? This isn't a matter of of mandatory service making someone, forever terrible, right? There are documentaries and videos that we've seen of people who served in the IDF, and it took their service in the IDF and time away from it to be like, wait, we're just genociding these people. Wait, fuck this government. And now they do tours in Israel for people who want to see what the occupation looks like. It's not like you're forever branded as like a horrible person because you ever served in the IDF. It's that you have no desire to look at your country critically for even a moment and say, wait, are we the baddies here? And if you're at that point, I wouldn't care if Hila was like, yeah, I did service. Now that I have some time away from it, it really does feel like this is a one-sided fight. And I kind of regret my service, and I thought I was helping, and I don't think I was, and I don't think the IDF is anymore. No one would still hold her accountable for things that she said or did when she was 19. At the very least, I wouldn't. I'd be like, yeah, that's fair. Sometimes it takes you some space to recognize something. Sometimes you look back and you're like, what was I thinking? What the? Oh my God. Stop, chatter. I had to stop you there. She loved the raids? Yeah. So that's neither here nor there. I have a lot of sympathy for mandatory conscription or mandatory service when you are critical of that service. You yourself, as having served, can take time away or step back and recognize that what your state has done has been shit. I mean, I'm friends with, like, again, a surprising number of military bros, and the vast majority of them are like, yeah, no, I mean, I have served, and I know at least one person who's serving, and they're very critical of the government. They're very critical of the U.S. government. They're very critical of U.S. involvement in other states. Like, but when you're at the point where you're saying, I'd rather find a way out of the IDF than be a secretary, that's just your words, man. That's just your words. That's not, I didn't make you say that. You said that. So if you were able to think of a way to get yourself out of being a secretary, you can't hide behind the mandatory service anymore. You just can't. Okay, sorry, finishing up.
Calling CPS to investigate. They're calling CPS to do something in order to make this person's life worse.
First of all, in the state of California, as of, I believe, 2023, there was legislation that was pushed to require people to put their full name and their phone number with the report, for starters. But more importantly, Ethan Klein himself said that the CPS agent said that the person who put in the call was someone he knew. And he hasn't provided any proof or reason why we should believe that it was a random anonymous person.
Ethan needs to lawyer up and sue these people. I hope he...
Sue for what? There's nothing to sue for, man. He's not going to win this. He wouldn't, first of all, there's no suit. Second, even if he tried to, it would be considered frivolous because, again, there's no suit. I was stationed in Okinawa, and when I saw the protesters outside the base, that was my turning point. Yeah, because you're not evil for ignorance. You're evil for willful ignorance, right? When you know what you're doing is wrong, or maybe it's not right. And you still continue to close your eyes because you don't want to see what's happening.
He does. These are people who are making false calls to
In the same episode, Ethan literally said that the main suspects were Trisha mega fans.
real government places in order to execute an internet beef. This is disgusting behavior. And all
I mean, it's not internet beef for me. It's internet beef for Ethan Klein, who is constantly beefing with everyone all the time, right? That's why he went on air and like accused Trisha of faking her infertility for some bizarre reason.
all of these people like Denims downplaying this. Oh, that's not.
Which I didn't downplay it. I explicitly said immediately when the clip ends, which it's very cute that the clip ends where it does right before I say it doesn't matter anyways because you shouldn't call CPS. CPS should be saved for people who are real scumbags.
Oh, but you're not getting memories at this age or whatever. Like, get the fuck out of here. This is so disgusting. Why would you talk like this? Why
Because she's sympathy farming. I already talked about this.
would you act like this? It's outrageous.
It's very, very, very dangerous when infants get the same sicknesses that adults get. Which this is true. This is literally true. People seem to think, by the way, that immune systems get stronger when you get sick, but it's not that the immune system necessarily is getting stronger. It's that you are now capable of fighting off that particular illnesses. There are a lot of illnesses that you can get as a child that can permanently stunt your development. Your immune system develops separately from your ability to collect illnesses. The illnesses, when you get some virus, your body just is now capable of fighting that one virus. The question is how much harm happens while that kid has contracted that virus. This is, so like, for example, with COVID, sure, let's say you catch COVID and your immune system fights it off. What was the cost of not having the vaccine, right? Maybe you got permanent lung damage. Maybe you got long COVID. Maybe you got semi-permanent fucking brain damage, right? Like the concern is that the damage to the body might not be worth the extra immunity to that particular, that particular virus, right? And again, with children, because their immune system isn't developed yet, and again, their immune system doesn't get developed because they get sick. It just is now able to fight off that particular illness and very similar strains. Your immune system develops separate from how often you get sick. And also, again, with something like Giardia, they're pretending like it's very common. It's not that common. And also in children, it has a risk of permanently stunting development. What I said is true. All infant that has no immune system shouldn't be catching anything. No wonder this motherfucker is always sick. Yeah. It all makes sense now. It all makes sense. It makes sense why he doesn't care about Palestinian children when he is neglecting his own. How is this happening? How is it happening? How is this happening?
So I prefer really not to speak. If I speak, I am in big trouble. In big trouble. And I don't want to be in big trouble.
It's so fucked. I thought Ethan was garbage content in the late teens. And Hassan wrote me back in. No. The whole memory thing also feels very unnecessary too. Not the main thing going on. And also that clip happened days afterward. And I also denounced CPS like 10 seconds after that clip ends. So I just think it's, okay, this is one thing I will say. One thing I'm going to say. There is, let me see if I can find it. I found it. I was thinking about talking about this in my video, but I figured it would just detract from the video. So I chose not to. But I kind of want to talk about it now. I do think it's very funny that Asmongold has such a hard stance on like, yeah, well, if you get banned or you get held responsible for what you say, that should be your fault. You're a grown adult. I mean, this is how he defended spreading this story about Rick Scott, right?
Let's see what the largest free speech defender had to say. He actually voluntarily brings this up in a YouTube video called "What the fuck is Twitch doing?" YouTube videos from 2 days ago with 1 million views. The first 13 minutes of it is just reacting to the latest Ethan Klein video, who is falsely smearing me as someone who doesn't care about Israeli civilians or whatever, which is obviously incorrect. He packaged that up with the Libs of TikTok video to call for my banning.
It was not just Libs of TikTok. I think that this is, again, it's an optics game where you're saying it's Libs of TikTok because Libs of TikTok is kind of a moron in a lot of cases. And so it's like, well, this person is doing it. And it's about kind of creating it to be a partisan political issue rather than just simply a behavior that's bad. You know, according to Hassan, it's my fault. It's Ethan's fault. It's Destiny's fault. Libs of TikTok's fault. It's everybody's fault except for his.
Isn't it hilarious that this guy whose entire shtick is, I just tell it like it is. I just tell the truth like it is. Sometimes there's roaches that climb into my dick hole and I just tell it like it is, man. Fuck, dude, I just tell it like it is. You know, maybe you shouldn't be saying stupid shit on your show if you don't want to be held responsible for the stupid shit you say on your show. And then when it comes to Ethan Klein in intense detail for 5 minutes straight discussing the nature of the diarrhea that him and everyone else in his household is having, suddenly it's everyone else's fault, not Ethan Klein's fault. Even though parents are the legal guardian for their children, it's everybody else's fault, not Ethan Klein's fault. I mean, he
made a whole video about this. There were like a couple of things that he brought up about me. Another big issue that a lot of these people have is that they think that the reason that they get banned and the reason that they get in trouble is because of somebody else, right? It's like, it's my fault. It's Ethan's fault. The fact is that sometimes people are just victims of their own bad decision making, right?
I think Asmongold is covering this because...
But when it comes to CPS showing up...
Say a roach climbed into.
Stop. Let me play it again, one sec.
Somebody is that,
because I just think it's like so rich. It's just so fucking rich, dude.
The reason that brought up about me, another big issue that a lot of these people have is that they think that the reason that they get banned and the reason that they get in trouble is because of somebody else, right? It's like, it's my fault. It's Ethan's fault. The fact is that sometimes people are just victims of their own bad decision making, right?
No one told Ethan Klein to get on his show and talk for 5 minutes in great detail about the liquid nature of the poops and how foul smelling they are. Nobody made him overshare that story. But suddenly, for some reason, it's nobody else's fault. It's not Ethan Klein's fault. It's everybody else's fault. It's everyone else's fault. You used Pat Empanada as a source, and he lied. I didn't use him as a source. I watched Ethan Klein talking about the viscous or lack of viscous nature of his kid's poop. That's what I watched. I watched Ethan Klein talking. Why would Asmongold think living in shit is a bad thing? That's why this whole thing is a little bit confusing for him, I think. I think he's a little bit confused. Y'all are missing the main point here, which is that Ethan has officially become a lol cow. Well, he's made one major mistake, which is that he became less funny the second he started caring so much about internet beef. Even before the CPS thing, before people are like, well, he cares because it impacts his kids. Before that, he started caring about this Hassan beef and this Hassan feud for like a year now. And he's like way too invested. And you're never funny when you're that invested. It's just too hard to be funny. Mimsy, thank you for the
streaming.
Thank you for the 5 gift subs. Yeah. God. The crazy thing too is like, the infosphere is like so fucked at this point that the second that any clip of mine is posted to any of these like more or less sex pest-y sites, so like live stream fails, for example, you post a clip of me saying Asmongold's fucking telling it like it is. He's telling it like it is. Roaches climbing into his dick because he tells it like it is, but he won't call out Ethan Klein for, you know, oversharing this story about his children. You post that on there, immediately will get downvoted and brigaded to fuck. Because again, it's a disinfo war. It is a disinfo war. Also, DJ Kento, thank you for the 5 gift subs. He's not even trying to be funny anymore. He's just broadcasting his insecurity. Yeah, it's sad. It's really sad. I want him to get better, dude. I actually do. I'm not joking. I do want him to get better. Okay. Sorry, I saw this comic. It's funny. Tap your card to complete your transaction. Trans! Stop. Okay. I don't even know who that is, Jabron. Or Jabroni. Did you cover the chess.com debacle? Yes. I don't know what the fuck is happening on that site. Or not that site, Twitter, more specifically. I don't know how you can see. What should we name the bishop and then immediately go to anti-Semitism? I don't know, man. I don't know. I just work here, man. Fuck. I just work here. All right.